So first of all, Tara, tell us about yourself and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thanks, Devin, for having me on. So I am the executive director of Autism Grown Up, an online nonprofit focused on supporting autistic individuals, families, and professionals as they start thinking about adulthood and then navigating adulthood. And that was born out of a few different places, definitely seeing the huge gaps for autistics in adulthood, as well as just thinking about the lifespan in general from a personal perspective. I am a sibling. I have two brothers on the spectrum, Tyler, who is 28, and Tanner, who's 20 now. My gosh, they have grown up so fast. I'm the oldest sister. And every time I say their ages, I'm always just like blown away by their ages. And I'm also, as a result of being a sibling, I've just been so involved in learning more and advocating with them, supporting them as they've grown up, figuring out what they want to do after high school and their day-to-day type of things. So that has led me down a very winding interdisciplinary path of direct care, special education, working in schools, doing research, teaching, social work as well. And then up to this point now of starting the nonprofit. That's kind of where it's landed me today. Autism Grown Up started as a blog, and it's grown into a resource center since I started it about 2 years ago.
So tell us about the different resources you have.
Yeah, so all of our resources are available online on our website at autismgrownup.com. And we have like two different branches of resources. We have a free resource library where, of course, everything is free. And we have all the kinds of great PDFs and guides, just to seek to educate and share resources out there, because that's a lot of information. I mean, there's growing information in this community, but it's really hard to kind of figure out what are the things I need to focus on. So I simplified all of that and compiled all of that to be really easy to use information to share. And then we have, I guess I could give some examples of things we have in there. We have something called a transition toolbox. So that's for an autistic teen, family member, or professional, most likely teacher, to be looking at what are the skill areas or things we can be focusing on to support this individual to reach their goals after high school. Then we have a housing checklist, so we can see where the individual is for self-assessment and figure out what are the options available to them in their community and those types of things. Those are really quick and easy guides and workbooks. And then we also have paid resources, and those are more of our templates, visual supports that I've created and can easily pass along to other people to try out and implement at home.
So tell us about the outreach you guys do.
Yeah, so I didn't even mention other pieces of the Resource Center, which works really nicely with our outreach thing here too. So I'm glad you asked. So I do a lot of podcasting because I found that's another way to get resources out to people. Some people consume that as a resource. And our podcast has even been aired in classrooms and for students who are learning more about autism or want to learn how to become a professional in the field. And so our podcast also allows me to connect and reach out to people who are doing like awesome work in this community. Like I just talked to somebody who is an employment specialist at Neurodiversity in the Workplace, which is a Philly-based organization doing work in neurodiversity. And I just talked to someone a couple months ago that I had no idea this area existed for housing, and they run the Autism Housing Network. So just getting those conversations going with them has helped with us getting connected to them, but also getting connected to people in the community from their networks to be able to pass on more of our resources.
So can you, after the show, can you email me the information for neurodiversity? And
definitely.
Tell us a little bit more about how you got into this field and like your journey to getting the PhD.
Yeah. So the journey, like I said, it was like pretty winding. It's kind of like me trying to figure out what is a good fit for my interests to be like working alongside and collaborating with autistic people. And that like is incredibly supportive, but also is incredibly, implementation and action oriented. So that's kind of like led me into, I did a lot of volunteering in classrooms, but then I also worked at an amazing camp here in North Carolina called Camp Royal, and they're run and funded by the Autism Society of North Carolina. And I still do work with them, but they serve people all over the spectrum, all support levels, all year round. And it's such a great place. I love that community. And I hope to try to like bring elements of that to the work I do. So like that led me into social work. And then I love social work so much. I got to do work on a farm and do just work with, I had never worked with horses before that, but it turned me into kind of like a horse person in a way, or a farm person, because it was so cool to see like the connections between, we had people, not just autistic people come in, but people with we also had them bring their families in and work through therapy that way. And then it led me to, when I was in my master's program, I loved the therapeutic aspect of working in this community, but I also still saw a lot of gaps in terms of just thinking about my brother's experiences growing up. They were both in their early to later teens, and we were looking towards adulthood. Both my brothers at that point had been on our Medicaid waiver list for maybe like 5 years or so. And the average length of time here in my state in North Carolina is about 10 years. So,
which is insane, by the way.
Oh, yes. Let it be acknowledged. Definitely. So insane. And it's ridiculous. It really shouldn't be like that. And yes, thankfully, we did get services a couple years ago. And so that's how I continue to do work with my brothers, actually, and how they've been able to access adulthood. The timing of that couldn't have been better for my youngest brother, because both of my brothers got off the wait list at the same time, and Tanner was just graduating high school. And that was perfect, because it was going to be, we're just kind of be like, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be falling through this rabbit hole of figuring out what to do for the day. So that really helped us figure out, okay, so during the day, they can be going to the day program just down the road from my parents' house, and we can figure out other services and put together the puzzle of what their day would look like. But we didn't have that before that. So I was leaving my master's program, wanting to do something more in the community, but also thinking about schools and preparation, because I know some schools have teachers who, all schools have teachers focused on supporting students in special education, but not a lot of those teachers have, first of all, training and education in autism, and then training and education in transition to adulthood. So getting vocational skills under their students' belts and before they leave is a big one, and as well as self-advocacy skills and thinking about organization and independent living, much less like just checking in with their students about what they want to do after high school is also a big thing to be thinking about. So that led me into, I found my way into a research project had just started at the university I was at for my master's, and they were working in schools doing this exact same thing. And I was like, I'm on board. Let's do this. And I supported them as a research assistant for a number of years. That led me into the PhD, actually, because a big thing of what I knew I wanted to do all along the way was get a PhD. But the question was, what do I get it in? That's why I kind of explored all these other areas as well. I was thinking clinical psychology, school psychology, maybe social work, continuing that. But I kept getting pushed towards special education. And I knew I also was not a teacher, but I wanted to go into the PhD and do more research in this area. So this high school research project was the perfect way for me to get my experience in both of those areas. So it really helped that too. Another one of the partner sites for this project was a university with a really, really great PhD program in this too. And those faculty working on this project were a part of this program and looking for more people to be a part of their PhD. So that's how I got recruited into that. And that led me to the PhD.
So speaking of like vocational skills and all that, tell us about the time you had Temple Grandin on your podcast. I was a little starstruck just seeing it. So you must have been starstruck, right?
Oh my gosh, for sure. I still am. I still cannot believe that she was on our podcast. And she had such great insight on vocational skills, executive functioning, adulthood, which are all topics that she kind of like touches on here and there in her books. And of course, through like sharing her experience as an autistic adult. But it was just so amazing just being there with her one-on-one. I really couldn't do it one-on-one because I was also just like, I knew I was going to be so nervous talking to her. So I had our community manager at the time, Cassidy Hooper, who also has her own podcast. So she felt comfortable doing that. And she was like, oh yeah, of course I want to join you in this. So that was really fun to do that with her.
I am a little bit jealous. I would have joined you had I known you back then.
I know. I would have totally asked you to. Made this like a fun panel thing.
How did that come about? Did you reach out to her? Did she reach out to you?
Yeah. So I wish she would have reached out to me. That would have been like extra level of cool. But I reached out to her. It seemed like she was really difficult to get a hold of because a lot of her social media channels don't have that direct message option for her. And her website is like the only place where you can like kind of reach out to her for questions. She has like a Ask Temple section of her website. So I submitted my question there to see if she, just like out of the blue, I was like, let me just try it. Who knows what this will get us along the way. So I definitely had no like stakes in the game or wasn't really putting too much on it because I had no idea what could have happened. And it did take some time after I posted that. I mean, I want to say maybe like a couple months later, I received a response from it. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to get going. So she has a lot of people working for her. And then they were like, well, just submit a question. Maybe she can get back to you. And then it went down the line where it was like, I just had to jump through all of these additional hoops with assistance because she's got like a whole team working with her. Not surprised. She's huge. But then it got to the point where they're like, yeah, just call this number and leave a message. And I called it, but then it was like another assistant. And I was like, not prepared for that. I just was going to leave a voicemail or something. And I shared like, hey, I would love her on the podcast. And the assistant didn't seem impressed. And I was like, okay, well, probably not going to work out. But I still left my phone number with her. And then a couple hours later, I saw my caller ID that someone was calling me from Fort Collins, Colorado. And I was like, oh, that's her. That's Temple, because that's where she teaches and she lives right now. And so she actually called me back to schedule the whole thing. And that was when I was like, that was like the most unbelievable thing.
So you just have to be persistent. Like, yeah.
Yes. Just gotta, yeah. And her website does work. So if anyone does want to get a hold of her.
Okay, I don't have any slots to have her on right now, but once my interview schedule dies down, I will definitely reach out to her and start the whole process of having Temple on the podcast because that would be amazing. And on a totally different subject now, you kind of, I don't want to say specialized, but you kind of have a background in complex behaviors and like figuring out why people are doing what they're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like where it's led me down the way too with like all of my backgrounds. It really started with both of my brothers because they both have very complex behaviors at home. And that really kind of led me down the way of just being curious about it and then wanting to learn and come from a place of compassion of supporting my brothers. So that lent itself perfectly to working at camp for so long. It's interesting because I personally wouldn't think of that as a place where, I don't know, it's like a day-to-day practice of working in complex behaviors, but it really is because you do meet so many people all over the spectrum and it's really one of the few places where people with complex behaviors can go and feel accepted. And part of that feeling accepted process is all of the training that came with working at Camp Royal. So it really was, we received a lot of great behavior training, visual supports training, communication training, and that's really kind of been like my guidepost for the work I've done since like working with my brothers and even being in high schools where they are trying to get their students out of their self-contained setting where they may have more complex behaviors like aggression or self-injurious behavior, and just trying to get teachers and other students in the school to become more considerate and compassionate and accepting towards all students in their school, but especially these students in the self-contained settings.
So are there any places that you recommend where teachers can go get that training?
Yeah, so they're like, I can definitely point you. Yeah, I think for high school, there's a really good website, or this was the high school project I worked on. I can send you the links too for this, Devin. They created a whole bunch of resources from the high school project to just pass along to teachers, and then they just put it on their website for free. And it includes like a training of just like understanding autism, and then it gets into things like meltdowns and de-escalation and preventative practices for high school teachers. It's called the CESA project, CSESA. And it stands for the Center on Secondary Education for Students with Autism. And yeah, I'll send you that link too, but that's a pretty easy Google search.
Yeah, I'll definitely put those in the show notes for people that want to access that.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would recommend for like all teachers, anyone really working in schools, like even paraprofessionals and other related service providers and professionals out in the field, they can go to something called AFIRM. It's AFIRM. And I forgot what it stands for. The university I worked at, we had so many different names like that. I think it's called Autism Focused Internet Modules. I forgot what the R is. Resource modules. I'm going to get so much flack for that if they hear this, because I worked with them. And they're like, what are you talking about? You've been recommending these for years. These are the things I use when I'm coaching teachers too, on just understanding autism, but it also gives you such great strategies, like things that should be just like a given in a classroom, like a visual support and like the why of that and how that could prevent like a meltdown and other anxiety and other things like that.
So speaking of podcast, tell us about your experience on the Loma podcast with Kim, who is lovely.
She's the best. That's how you found me, actually. So I'm so glad that worked out. I love that experience of being on the Loma podcast because, right, Kim is the best. And I actually found her podcast maybe a few months after starting mine because I just wanted to extend it as a resource, but I had no idea hers existed. And it feels like the perfect, I think we said on that episode in particular, like a twin sister or sibling podcast.
I know, like you guys would be so good as podcast co-hosts. Oh my God.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I have to get her on mine very soon because I just started up with recording my episodes again. Actually, being on her podcast kind of got me excited again about doing podcasts. I kind of went through a funk where I just had so much on my plate, and podcasting was one of those things where I was considering maybe taking a break from. But doing that one with her, just talking about my brothers and some things that could be translated along the way was just really, it was just such a fun experience. I felt like she is such a great host.
Yeah, she's the best. I low-key want to be on that podcast sometime, and I kind of not so subtly asked to be on it, but she hasn't found a slot for me yet, which is fine, but she's the best. Like, she's the best. I love her.
Yeah, we got to get you on that podcast for sure.
So, anything else you would like to add today?
I don't think so. I'm just, as you can tell, like, we're still very early in the nonprofit process. So I am curious to like listen to this episode in the future and like see this as like a time capsule of where we were. I'm very excited about all of our, like, we have an upcoming partnership with an app called, a visual support app called Timo. And very excited about that as like a resource for our community too. So yeah, we're just like, we're growing. And that's really it.
What is Timo?
Yeah, so I can send you that link too, because that's an amazing resource. It's spelled Tiimo, and they're a European-based company, I want to say, and they, it's a visual support app. It kind of looks like Google Calendar and Google Keep and all of those different functionalities of Google in one spot, and it has capabilities on your desktop and phone and tablet where it just keeps all of your lists in one place, but it also lets you track time for things too.
Oh, I'm going to get that.
Yeah, go for it, Devin. It's really cool. They also have like a subscription for it too, but there is a free trial period. And I think with the subscription, it's really like flexible. So you could do like a free version of it too, because of like based on need, which I really like.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Tell us about your plans for the Autism Grown Up organization in the future and where people can get in contact with you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Devin. So I'm very excited for just the growth of our community online. We have a Facebook group, so that's also linked on our website too. Or you can just search on Facebook, find our page, and join the community there. But that's mostly going to be turning into a technical assistance center for all of our resources, because we have so many right now. I went like over the past couple of years, I've just kind of like kept my head down and made all of those resources. But as I've looked back at them now, I'm like, I feel like not a lot of people know about them. And so I want to help people to be using those resources, because otherwise, what's the point of having these as resources, right? So that will be the main thing of the Facebook group, and what we're going to be doing in the future is like just thinking about implementation of these things and getting the word out about that. So like through this podcast, which I so appreciate. And things that are like so important with COVID times and just navigating uncertainty in the first place. We have a lot of resources for that too.
Are there any tips that you could offer for families struggling with autism during the pandemic?
Yeah, so I'm always the biggest proponent of visual supports in whatever form or fashion that is best for the family, for the individual. Sometimes it's even just super helpful for parents to have like a main spot for information, like that's related to like, when will my day program open back up again, or when will school open, or what are the things I need to look out for and steps to think about for cleaning and wearing a mask, all of that type of thing. That can be really helpful for explaining related issues that may come up or challenges. And then the other thing is to still try to maintain a social connection. I know we talk a lot about like social distancing, but it doesn't exactly mean like being isolated from people. So one of the things we're doing in our community, and I've been seeing online that I also encourage families to still keep up with, is just staying connected with either maybe their classroom community online, something like that, continue lunch bunches if that's possible, that type of thing.
And you have an Autism Grown Up community, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we currently, it's mostly sharing resources out there, but there's also some really great chances for support too.
So I'll definitely put the link to the community in the show notes too.
Awesome. Thank you.
So speaking of complex behaviors, tell us about I think it was Tanner, the one that you thought he was having seizures and he was actually going through film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's right. That was Tanner. So I think what I said in that episode, you'll have to remind me or fill me in too, because what did I said for that one? What we thought were seizures were what Tanner tends to do here and there. It's kind of decreased lately, but there will be periods of time when he's done this since he was in high school. Is like he will stop in place, maybe putting his hand on a certain spot and like maybe counting it. But then he'll also like flicker his eyelashes or his eyes, and it looks like it is like a seizure. So it can be very like shocking to see, or just like it caused some worry here and there with us. But he didn't have like any of the other symptoms or looks of seizures. And one day I did just ask him, like, well, what you doing right now? What are you thinking about? And then he said, I'm looking at my movies right now. And I was like, looking at your movies, what movies are you looking at? And he told me which ones he was doing and like which scenes he was watching, and that he can like fast forward and go backwards or rewind and stop and pause. So I was like, just so amazed to discover that. And I think Kim was very surprised about that too, because I think Miranda may do some similar things too with her eyes, or just be like playing different things in her head. And she's just not sure, like it may come across that like Miranda is like stopped in place for a second, but we're not sure what's going on because she's not saying anything. Same thing with Tanner. So.
Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. So I wanted to make sure we got that in before you got off. So thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Devin. It was so fun talking with you.
We will catch you guys next episode. Bye, guys.